day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion, your old pal Ja, and as you can see behind us, we are in Georgia today. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now, and we are headed to Atlanta. Since we have enough time, we're actually going to make a stop in Decatur at my favorite restaurant for some brunch. Here it is. It's called Sun in My Belly. I have eaten breakfast, brunch, and dinner almost everywhere, all over the world, and to my belly, this is the best breakfast brunch you can ever get. This is pretty much one of the only signs for the entire place, so you know it's good when they don't even have to advertise the name of their place here. So I came when it's not busy, but usually the line is all the way out the door, and what you do is you go in, place your order at the front of the line, and then go find a table and they bring your food to you. So 100% of the time I get the croquet madame right there with a side of cheese grits. So honestly, the line usually comes in, goes all the way around, there, loops back through here, and then you come up to the counter to order. I've waited for 45 minutes and it's still worth it. I mix it up. They have indoor and outdoor dining. As busy as they are, I've never been here when there wasn't an open table, so they do have plenty of seating. And there it is. I couldn't tell you what they do to make this better or different than any other place, but when I came to Atlanta one time, I looked at best restaurant or best breakfast in Atlanta. They directed me to this place and kept saying how good the eggs were, and I said, how good can eggs really be? They really are this freaking good, and those are cheese grits for you my cousin Vinny fans. I can't believe I've never shown you guys this. I've been here, I don't know, 6-7 times. Ever since the first time I came, I thought it was the best, and every time I come back, it always delivers. So I figured I'd better show you now. Oh, so good. I think we're gonna wrap it up here and head over to Oakland Cemetery. Great job in there, dude. You were a perfect gentleman. Now, you ready to go see The Gambler? You ready to go see Kenny Rogers? Let's go see what condition his condition is in. We've been here before. This is where Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, is also buried. What an entrance. Oakland Cemetery. So I couldn't find any location for him online, so I'm gonna use this map and see if maybe that'll help. This is one of the more prestigious cemeteries here in Atlanta. It says here the reason they chose this spot for the cemetery was that this was the site of a lot of beautiful oak trees. So it became a principal burial ground for Atlanta residents, travelers, and paupers. Cemetery contains separate African American and Jewish burial sections, as well as distinct areas for Confederate and Union soldiers. Cemetery is also the burial site of several Georgia governors, more than 20 Atlanta mayors, and 5 Confederate generals. Author Margaret Mitchell, golfer Bobby Jones are also buried here. And I think I have an idea where he's at. This is a really beautiful cemetery. I thought this was kind of cool. If you notice, this headstone right here has a CD on it, and it said, "Let the music play." George Howard Prince. Then on the side, it's got a disc drive. Kind of cool. Then from what I could see online, Bobby Jones and Kenny Rogers are pretty close to each other right over here. So there it says Bobby Jones. And I probably won't be doing a separate Bobby Jones vlog. Not much of a golfer. Oh, I see Kenny. There he is. He's over there. It's a big one too. That's why I kind of figured even if we came out here and didn't have directions, we'd probably find it because it's rather large since he made his estate out here in Georgia. So a good way to find it is make sure that apartment building right over there is on the right of you when you're looking for it. It's this big one right here. Kenny Rogers. Man, what a heck of a career he had. Then in the inside, it says, "Will the circle be unbroken?" God, talk about lots of hits, man. Like I said, fantastic career. He switched genres multiple times. Had hits in just about all of them. Looks like here beside him there's enough room for family members if they choose to do that. I know he had, I think, 5 kids. 5 kids with 4 of his wives, and 2 of the kids were twins. He was born and raised in Houston, and he was the 4th of 8 children. And he said, to his knowledge, as far back as he could remember, he was the first in his family to graduate high school. Kenny Rogers loved music from an early age. Got into a band when he was a teenager. Had a little hit in 1957. Didn't really go much of anywhere, so he ended up joining a jazz trio called the Bobby Doyle Trio and played with them for a little while, and then ended up leaving to join the New Christie Minstrels, which was a popular folk band of the time. He was a double bass player and played some guitar, played the bass, sang, and they were real popular. I remember them from when I lived in Los Angeles. There was a place called Leadbetters back in the 60s that John Denver broke out, and that was where he got his name and everything. And the New Christie Minstrels used to play there a lot. So Kenny played with them for a while, and so there he had already had a rock hit in the 50s, in like 1957. Then he had went on to a jazz trio, had a hit with them, and then now was in a folk trio, but the folk trio wasn't making that much money, so they decided to break up and actually reform, and they became the First Edition, and that was like a psychedelic group, which is, like I mentioned earlier, I was kind of like making a little joke. I knew that song. I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. Kenny is singing that song, and I know it because I'm a huge fan of The Big Lebowski, and that's one of the dream sequence songs from The Big Lebowski. So he played with the First Edition for years, and then in '75 they ended up breaking up, and he ended up deciding to go solo and crossed over to more of like pop country, and had a couple of hits. As we know, he ended up doing Lady and Islands in the Stream, which was produced by Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, and they were only supposed to actually do one song originally, but they worked so well together that Barry said, I want to do your whole record, and he had a hit with that. And then he ended up performing and becoming really close friends with Dottie West, and he and Dottie West performed a lot together, did a couple of songs, and that kind of solidified him in the country world because she was a legend. And he would even say throughout his career, with all the people he would sing with and all the people he would perform with, nobody had more emotion to the way they sang than Dottie West. And he spent so much time with her. It was sad. She ended up dying in a car wreck in 1991. And he was with her just hours before that, so he grieved quite heavily. He went on to have a fantastic career. I mean, he pretty much won every award you could win, from CMAs to Grammys. I remember, I think my earliest memory of him is that photo of when he and Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson, everybody had won awards and they were all posing together. And then, of course, We Are the World. My sister had a poster from We Are the World. He was part of that. And in fact, I think that, he worked a lot with Lionel Richie, and Lionel Richie was kind of the the writer behind that. But I think Kenny had bought into a recording studio in Los Angeles that ABC had once owned, and I believe they recorded that song in Kenny's studio. I know they filmed the video and did all that stuff, and it might have even been part of the Henson, Charlie Chaplin Studios. Even then, I think Kenny owned part of that with a group. So he had his hand in a little bit of everything. He was a songwriter, a producer. He used to produce country hits when he was kind of struggling for Eddie Arnold. He had the chicken place. He was an entrepreneur. He had Kenny Rogers Roasters. And if you ever saw the Seinfeld episode, that is just an amazing episode. You know, Kramer ends up getting addicted to Kenny Rogers chicken because they just put one across the street from their apartment building, but it's driving him insane because they have a red light that's keeping him up all night. So it's hilarious, and it was really popular. I think it's still even around, but I think when I was in high school, they were, I remember seeing more of them, and I remember him being on, I forget what talk show, it was one of those talk shows, and they played like this little game where they had him try different chicken to see if he could recognize his own chicken, and he couldn't. And he even said then, he goes, I like burgers, I don't eat chicken that much. At least he's honest. Yeah, so he was quite a guy, had quite a career. Like I said, he had won just about every award that you could win, had hits in just about every category you could have hits in, had done just about a little bit of everything, sold over 100 million records in his lifetime. And then in 2015, he just decided that it was time to call it quits. It was time to retire. He had performed for over 50 years, and he decided that he really wanted to spend time with his family. And he had loved Christmas music, had done Christmas records in the past, and decided to end it all with a Christmas tour. So he did half of his set for the night would be Christmas songs, and the other half would be like greatest hit stuff. Of course, he had hits with Dolly Parton, and of course I mentioned Lionel Richie, Sheena Easton. Here he lies. It's crazy too, because he said his dad in his entire life never made more than $75 a week. So it's pretty amazing what Kenny was able to accomplish in his life. Rest in peace, Kenny. So one story that's not widely known that I wanted to share coming out here was a really cool story about Kenny Rogers and Willie Nelson, and what a great guy Kenny Rogers actually was, and how unselfish he was. So he had The Gambler. He had heard The Gambler and decided that this was a song that Willie Nelson had to record and make a hit. So when he saw Willie, he said, you got to do this song. Played it for Willie, and Willie listened to it, and he said, I like the song, Kenny, but I can't do that song. And he said, why not? And he said, because I do The Red-Headed Stranger, and that's a song that's a long song with a story, and I've been doing it for years, ever since I was in radio. I've been doing that song for my little kids. It's just a staple in my show, and I don't think I should do 2 long songs, so I'm not going to record The Gambler. So Kenny said, well, all right, I guess I will. Talk about history. I mean, not to say that Willie wouldn't have done an amazing job of The Gambler at that time. I mean, he was in his prime when Kenny asked him. I think that would have been 1979, 1980, but that was the biggest song that Kenny Rogers was known for. They ended up coming out with cars named after that, called The Gambler. And I think Bobby Jones is right over here, so let's try and find him while we're over here. To me, that's pretty amazing when you can cross over that many times. You can do country and jazz and pop and folk, and I mean, just run the gamut throughout your career, where you get to do everything that you have an interest in. That is a true musician's career. Oh yeah, I see a sign up here with an arrow. Kind of surprised he didn't put his birth or death dates on. Talking about Kenny Rogers. He passed away in 2020. So there's our sign. He must be down here. Oh, I see. Okay, how do I get over there? He's right back there. He's right there beside the wall. Robert Tyre Jones Jr. and Mary Malone Jones. Looks like this is the Malone family plot, his wife's family. And they've somewhat made it look like a golfing green, because you can see how many people have left golf balls. And since I knew I was coming, I didn't forget mine. I brought one too. I like the extra touch of the flamingo. That's kind of cool. That is a lot of golf balls, man. That's when you know you're a true legend. So here they have a little bit of history about Bobby Jones. It says he shocked the world in 1930 when he retired, and he had joined his father's law firm 2 years before. He decided to start specializing in corporate law, and he held several interests in Coca-Cola, so he ended up sitting on the corporate boards and participating in multiple golf charities, and also helped design the first match set of steel shaft golf clubs for Spalding. All right, my friends, we are going to call it a day from Atlanta, Georgia. I want to thank Phil Ippolito for becoming my newest Patreon. Thank you all for watching. Rest in peace, Kenny Rogers and Bobby Jones. And we'll see you all next time. Have a great night and goodbye.